Let us give Brother James another wonderful well-deserved. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God, to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And in the name of his true servant and last messenger, our beloved leader, teacher, and guide, the messenger of Allah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm very happy to greet you, my beloved brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, this event this evening was sponsored by the wheelchair dependent brothers and sisters. And it was sponsored by them as a fundraiser to help them to secure a mode of transportation that would permit wheelchair-dependent people to get to and fro. So while we're talking this evening, I would hope that all of us would be thinking about what we can give to aid these brothers and sisters who appear to be disabled. I say appear to be disabled, because if we truly understand a man who thinks like this and a man who speaks like this could never really be classified as disabled, even though he may not have the use of a limb or two, because a thinking man can work through another man's limbs. A thinking man can work through another man's hands and feet. This is a thinking man, and a thinking man is never disabled. May Allah bless you, my brother. So, when I finish this talk tonight, I don't want us to get up and rush out, okay? Because I want to personally take the collection tonight. I think that Reverend Rawls has been very kind to allow the wheelchair-dependent people to utilize this beautiful edifice, but it costs money, and the brothers paid it. And the posters that you saw around the city, they also cost money, and the brothers paid for it. So I just don't think we should allow them to carry this burden alone. So I would like to say that the tape of tonight's lecture, and I pray that Allah will bless me to give a very good lecture tonight. That tape will be the property of the wheelchair-dependent people to utilize it, and however many times we sell it, every time we sell it, the proceeds will go to the wheelchair-dependent people, because we do have a responsibility. And the proceeds tonight from the sale of the tape will also go to the wheelchair-dependent people. Now, I have a very fond memory of this house, this church. For this is the first place that I spoke publicly before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In 1957, he sat right here, and I spoke from this rostrum. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, after hearing me, I was a captain at that time of the FOI. He told his son, he's not a captain, he's more of a minister. And it was here at Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church that he first mentioned my possibility of becoming a minister. And I'm very happy to come back here always to bring the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to our people. I'm sorry that the house is not filled to overflowing, but whatever Allah sends us, we are grateful for, and we are not in the least bit disappointed, because the few of us that are here tonight, if we make a commitment to disabled persons, we will make a bold step in the right direction. Now, the scriptures of both the Bible and Holy Quran tell us our responsibility to one another. We come into the world not to live as individuals, but to live as a part of a community, as a part of a nation, as a part of a world. So when you come into the world to ultimately become a part of a family, a part of a community, then that entails responsibility. I have a responsibility to you. You have a responsibility to me. We have a responsibility to one another and to our people. I think we understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, in every family, there may be one who is ill, either physically incapacitated or mentally incapacitated, or incapacitated due to age, or not powerful to do for self because of extreme youth. In that family, the older ones have a responsibility to the younger ones. Is that correct? Young people, and when I say young people, I'm speaking of infants, do not understand that the force of life and the force of death walk with us every day. And when we are careless with the force of life, the force of death moves in and takes life away. Is that correct? Little children that play in the street are not aware of the death that is all around them. So God gives to children a parent or parents or older brothers and sisters who have a responsibility to look out for danger, look out for harm coming to that young life. And whenever we are careless in carrying out our duty and our responsibility, that young child who doesn't know that death walks right along with life will run out in the street, and in a short moment, that which was once alive is now dead. We can see responsibility on that level. But each of us has a responsibility to one another. When you have a sister or brother who is weak, if you have the strength that your brother or sister lacks, you are not to down the one that is weak. You are to bear them up in their weakness with your strength, so that perhaps your strength might give them strength to overcome their weakness. This is why in the church they sing the song, I am weak, but thou art strong. Keep me, Jesus, from all wrong. Well, what are you saying? You are saying that you recognize our human frailty, but we recognize the strength of the Master. So if you hold on to that which is strength, then the strength of the strong will give strength to that which is weak. Is that right? Now, if you recognize that strong teachers have a duty to people who are weak to make them strong, strong leaders have a duty to the weak among them to teach them and hold on to them and make them strong, then you also must recognize that whenever there are those among us who are incapacitated, we have a duty and a responsibility to them. When you see a blind person, that person is disabled physically with sight. But look how great and wise the God is. When he takes away your sight, or he permits you to be blind, he increases your ability to hear. I watched Stevie Wonder one day play a game. I guess they call it air hockey. And he never lost, but he couldn't see the puck, but he heard. And no one beat Stevie, and I watched him play for almost an hour. So even though he couldn't see, he made up for it in the strength of his ears and his uncanny ability to perceive the apparent imperceptible through feeling and sensing the people all around him. So when a person loses a limb, loses the ability to see or the ability to hear, God always compensates for it in another way. So the first thing that a disabled person should do after getting over the shock of losing the power of one's limbs, or the power of sight, or the power of hearing, this is a terrible shock to a person, to know that one day I used to be able to walk and now I'm unable to walk anymore. One day I used to be able to use my hands and now I can't use my hands anymore. If you could go into the hospital room of Teddy Pendergrass tonight and understand that the brother just a few days ago was vibrant, people by the thousands cheering him, admiring his tremendous ability with a song, and in an instant, in a Rolls Royce, he's pinned, and it takes them nearly 45 minutes to an hour to extract his crumpled body from the ruins of that automobile. And from the reports that I've heard, he was able to move his shoulders and to move his elbow. And I heard that they had to take a bone from somewhere in his body and put it up in his neck so he could hold his head up. Now, if Allah blesses brother to come through this, the memory of being able to walk, to be able to do for yourself, to be able to sing and please an audience is going to make life unbearable for him. But what does he need? He needs an understanding, loving family and group that will come around him and make him to know, it's all right, brother. We are with you. If you need us to push you, we'll push you. If you need us to feed you, we'll feed you. But when that happens, the person that is disabled begins to wonder, is he or she a burden on you? And not wanting to be a burden on you, they'll try to do for themselves until they recognize it may not be possible at that moment. And then the burden on their mind is, can you still love me though I can't walk like I used to? This is the man to the woman, or the woman to the man. Will you still be faithful to me now that I've lost the use of my limbs? Can you look at my amputated arm, the stub that remains? Can you bear to look at it and recognize that my arm is not me, it's a part of me? My leg is not me, it's a part of me, but the real me is my mind. And when my mind is gone, I'm totally gone. But if my limbs are gone and my mind remains and my spirit remains, I'm here. Did you marry my hands and did you marry my feet, or did you marry me? Well, it's difficult. It's very difficult. It's difficult for both parties. The person who is disabled and the one who has to care for the disabled. But that is the test that life brings to see what kind of man you are, what kind of woman you are. You never know really who you are until you're tested by some misfortune. All of us can accept life when life is smooth. Hey, baby, I sure love you, honey. You the baddest thing I ever see. And then something happens and she goes blind. That's a test of your love. It's a test of your commitment. And you know, many of us run out on our responsibility to a mate when that person becomes disabled. Many of you, most of us, when we were very young, our mothers looked after us. They did the best they could with next to nothing. I'm sure you can remember. And now you are up in age and strong, and mama is a little weak. Daddy's a little weak. And now, when they are old, that's being somewhat disabled too. We don't have any time for the elderly. We throw them off to the side. Our old mothers, our old fathers, we don't care about them. This is a heck of a society in which we live. If you're young and strong and good looking, the world wants you. If you're old, if you're incapacitated in any way, or if there's some mark on you that marks you, a burn, some disfiguring thing, people mock you. They run from you. This is a hell of a world in which we live. It really has no love in it. And so a disabled person is alone, taken advantage of. An elderly person is alone, taken advantage of. Nobody cares. If you're not able to do something for me, I don't want nothing to do with you. Some of us don't want our mothers if they can't do something for us. We don't want our fathers. We don't want one another if we're not able to do something. Teddy Pendergrass, if he's unable to sing again, he will see how many people will leave him alone. You remember Jackie Wilson? How easily men are forgotten. They gave us great hours of enjoyment, but when they can't give it anymore, we don't have time to remember them and put the arms of love around them to help them to know that it is all right. If you are blind, I'm your eyes. If you are deaf, let me hear for you. If your hands are gone, tell me what you want, I'll do it for you. If your feet are missing and mine are here, where can I go for you? That's a responsibility of us to anyone in our family or in our community that is disabled. Now, which I'm not telling you anything you don't know. This is not revelation. This is just a gentle reminder. Now, don't you know, brothers and sisters, if we did by each other as we know we should, we wouldn't have to sit up here and talk about what white folks have done. Because the white man would be powerless to do anything to us if we were a family as we should be. We allow too many things to further cripple us. So it goes without saying, we have a responsibility to our brothers and sisters who are disabled, and whatever they need as the community, we have a responsibility to help them get what it is to make their life wholesome, and to let them know that life is not over because you're in a wheelchair. Roosevelt ran this country from a wheelchair. You can run the world from a gurney. You can run the world from a wheelchair as long as you don't let the crippling of the body cripple the thought process. Now, I'm going to say a few things that may sound way out, but I got it from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I believe it with all my heart. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, visited us. And his aim and purpose in coming to the lost sheep, the lost brother, was to give us life and to give it to us in abundance. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Allah promised that there would be a reversal of this old decayed body, and we would go back to the days of our youth. This is written both in the Bible and in the Holy Quran, if you can understand it. Now, you may say, I don't believe this. Man, don't lie to me. But every winter, you see the earth die. and its beauty cover up. And you wonder to yourself, could the earth ever come back to its former beauty? And every spring that you live, you see the earth recover from the death of winter. And new life springs up, not the same life, but new life where the old life was. The Quran says in this, there are signs for you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that those of us who are bald, that we will grow hair again. Those of us who have lost the teeth, we will grow a third set. Even if you ran by one, ran by two, you could get a third set. Now this may seem far out, but the limb that you lost, all of it started from a cell. Now you better listen. When you were just sperm, you couldn't see limbs in a sperm, but it was there. And when that sperm united with the egg, you had the first cell of life. You didn't see limbs in the first cell. But after the cells began to multiply, and that simple organism became a complex organism, limbs began to form. Is that right? From the brain. It is not the limbs that form first. It is always the brain that forms first, and the brain call hands and feet into existence. All right now. The Caucasian has said that he can take a cell from your body and clone an exact duplicate of you from just a cell of you. Is that right? Why? Because in the cell of you is everything genetically that makes you what you are, character-wise, personality-wise, and also the structure and form of your body. The Bible says, I don't know what I'll be like, but we shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye, and we will be like him, and he like us. Is that right? This is your Bible. You read it, but you don't understand what you read. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad pointed out to us that there would be this reversal. And I remember when I first met this brother, it's been about a year. I met him at a church about a year ago. He was on the gurney in the audience, and I was speaking. And I saw the look of death in his face. When I say the look of death, you know, when your thinking is not on, you look just like you think. If your thinking is, oh hell, I'm incapacitated, don't nobody love me, nobody cares, that's just the way you look. You look like that. Well, he had that look in his face. And I watched the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad go out and reach brother. And in less than a year, he's standing before you talking. Strong too. Huh? And even though I've seen him on that gurney for the last year, he doesn't seem like a hopeless fella, does he? He doesn't seem like, oh man, the world is really messed up. I want to get out of here. This man wants to hold on to life. And from this gurney, laying there, if I put a mic to his mouth, I could take him all over America, and he would wake up black men and women and children all over America right from this position. Now, life has come into the brother from the word of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he is growing into a new growth. Many of you know the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. You've heard about his teachings. And many of you eat good food. Many of you take care of yourself. You live a good life as best you know how. But you never quite get the look in your face of a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Why? It's because the thinking is not quite on. I'm just going to tell it straight out, man. If you don't mind. What I would challenge by Allah's grace the world to prove that in the very cell of life there is a healing mechanism. God did not bring life on the planet and not bring compensation also on the planet for disease. Therefore, everything that heals man comes out of the same earth that man comes out of. Is that right? And there's a healing power not outside of you, but right inside of you that is triggered by the way you think. I want you to listen, beloved. Many of us that are in wheelchairs can get up out of these wheelchairs and walk. And I'm not no faith healer, and I'm not going to run down and touch nobody and play games and have somebody fake it and come in with some crutches and throw them down and say, whoa, Brother Farrakhan touched me tonight. No, that's a game. But in one sense it's a game, and in another sense it's not a game. The first thing they ask you is, do you believe? Do you believe? And this man that you put confidence and faith in puts his hand on your head and does something and says, walk. But he's speaking to the belief, the power of faith. And it is the power of faith in a person that sets the healing mechanism within the cell to work. Listen, beloved, we suffer too much illness because we're a faithless people who really don't believe in the power of the God who created the universe. And the very power that is created in the universe is bound up in the tiniest atom. If you just crack the atom, power jumps out of it. Well, that same power is bound up right in you. I hope that you have just a few more minutes that you'll be patient with me. Look, brothers and sisters, the way you think helps to heal the physical body. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to me one day, he said, brother, go to a hospital bed where someone is sick and speak the word that Allah gave me to them. He says within 8 minutes, you'll notice a change in their spirit. Now, what he was telling me is, there's a scientific root to it. It takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds for the sunlight traveling at 186,000 miles per second to leave the sun and strike the earth. 500 seconds, 8 minutes and 20 seconds. It's the same amount of time for the blood to make one complete circuit, 500 seconds, 8 minutes and 20 seconds it takes the blood to travel from the heel to the head and back to the heel again. And every time the blood reaches the brain cell, if the brain is thinking right, it gives off an electrical impulse into the blood. And as the blood goes through the body, it charges the body. And the person all of a sudden gets to feeling better. In 8 minutes, if you put the right thought in a man's head, you can change the way he feels. All praise is due to Allah. Now look, this is why some of us are messengers of death instead of messengers of life. How you feel today? I don't feel good. Can't do this. Things ain't right. Niggas ain't nothing. Why wasn't I born white? You know, that's constant negative talk. You keep thinking like that, and within 8 minutes, your day is blown, brother. You're not energizing the blood. You go through every day with a downer, and that's why you got to get high. You got anything, man? You got anything? You got anything? What you looking for? You looking for some coke? You looking for some teas and blues? What are you looking for to get up? That won't get you up. The thing that you're really looking for is the Word of God that has light, life, and power in it to energize the cells and energize the healing power in the cell. Now, I don't want to go into medicine, but beloved, don't ever think because you are disabled in one way that you are permanently disabled. I don't believe there's anything permanently disabled. The Quran teaches me that Allah is the healer. And the Quran says of Allah, it says, they say, when we have become as dust, will we be raised again to life? Allah says, that is easy for me. He said he can reproduce this. Think over it. Not only does he originate creation, but he can reproduce it. So the Quran says he has the power to make complete your make, even to your fingertips. Well, if he can do all of that, then why not believe that he can actually grow you a new limb? See, you don't think that it's possible, therefore with you it is impossible, because you're dealing on the white man's childlike level of thinking. He don't know the power of God. He's just a baby on the planet. Hell, if God can reproduce the same rose that was here last year, and it looked just as good this year as it looked last year, you lose skin and he grows it back, and it looked just as pretty as the skin that came off in an abrasion. Don't think that the God can't replace bone. It's easy to Allah, but the question is, who will believe? Now, I think we can move this right to a conclusion. Before I get to that, I want to say to every sister who cannot bear children, that kind of sister sometimes has the feeling of being disabled. She marries a man and the man wants a baby and she can't produce a baby. She has feelings of impotency. She has feelings of incompleteness. She has terrible feelings of inadequacy. And she feels incapacitated, disabled. And when you are blessed with a woman and that woman says, in honesty to you before you marry, that I'm unable to bear, then you must help her through those nights when she sees you playing with somebody else's child, and she goes up into her room crying, thinking and saying, oh, you can't love me. She feels so insecure. You have to make her to know it's all right. And I'm telling you, brother, when one of us is incapacitated, the other one has a heck of a job to overcome the feeling in the mind of inadequacy. You must make them to know it is all right. My mother suffered a stroke, a slight stroke, during the Savior's Day convention while she was out here. And she's home with me now. This is where I wanted her all along. She's so fiercely independent. You know, she wants to do for herself. But I hear little words. I don't want to be a nuisance. I don't want to be a nuisance. See, those are code words. And you must not let the code word, yes, you are becoming a nuisance. When someone says something like that, they really want you to reaffirm that they are not a nuisance, and they'll stay with you because nobody wants to be a burden on you. Your mother doesn't want to be a burden on you. Your father doesn't want to be a burden. None of these brothers who are incapacitated in some way want to be a burden on anybody. But we must let them know, no, this is not a burden. It's my responsibility, and I love it. So I said to mother, I said, you know, Mom, when I was a very small baby, I did a lot of things that you didn't like. And I never heard you tell me that I was a nuisance. And I never heard you say you wanted to put me out because I did something you didn't like. I said, now it's my turn to do for you. And I'm very proud to have that opportunity. What I'm saying is, beloved, each of us, if we live, we're going to grow old. And if we live in this life, we're going to meet some misfortune. And when you and I meet a misfortune, we really don't want to go through it alone. So if you are mindful of your duty to others in their time of need, God will see to it that in your time, someone will be there to aid you through. Now, I will close. The New Testament of the Bible is a testament of healing. Have you noticed it? Jesus was working with disabled people. Is that right? I mean, the only reason you know Jesus, since you didn't see him, you read about him, but the only reason you read about Jesus was he worked with disabled persons. Tell the truth. He saw some folk that were blind, right? And he gave them sight. He saw people who had palsy or paralysis, and he made them whole. He saw people who were lepers, and he cleansed them. He was working with disability. Well, brothers and sisters, the conquering force of disability is a little simple four-letter word. The scripture says, God is love. And the whole personality and character of Jesus was this overpowering disposition of love toward a people who were disabled. Is that right? And out of that love that he had, which was directly from the God, from the Father, he generated energy into those who were incapacitated and healed them of their sicknesses and made them whole. Now, what lesson can we learn from that? This may come as somewhat of a surprise to you, but all of us as black people are disabled.
That's right.
Yep. Now, to be disabled means to be incapable. See, it's not permanent, but it's a fact. We have been incapable up to this moment of doing for ourselves what other people have done and are doing for themselves. That's a serious disability. Is that right? We want freedom, justice, and equality, but it doesn't seem as though we're equal up to attaining it. It doesn't appear that way. We seem to be incompetent as a people. That's why you are so happy when you see a black doctor, a black lawyer. Oh, here's a black man. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Why you raise so much sand over someone who's doing something? Because he or she appear to be rare among our people. Incompetent. Good fighters, good ball players, good singers, but not competent thinkers. Disabled. Not permanently, but incompetent. Inadequate. Ineffective. Inefficient. Non-productive. With a sense of powerlessness, a sense of no influence. We're like the brother wrote, the spook that sits by the door. People make decisions in Washington, they don't consult you. They make decisions about you and they don't ask you because they don't consider you nothing. You exist, but you're not there. You're an incompetent. You're disabled. And you're a veteran of slavery and disabled by it. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Having eyes, but we don't see. Disabled. Now, surely if we miss our eyes, what about our ears? The book says have ears, but we can't hear. The book says we have a tongue, but we don't speak. Blind, deaf, and dumb. Reaganomics tearing the country up, and the black man is sitting crying because he can't think that he is able to do something for himself. He's disabled. Is that right? 30 million disabled people. And if you leave America and get into the Caribbean, you'll see a handful of Chinese, a handful of Indians, a handful of Arabs running the whole Caribbean. Economically, the black man is the majority, but he runs nothing. He's powerless. He's impotent. He's disabled. Travel with me to Africa and I'll show you a continent of disabled black people whose economies are run from Europe, whose politics is mastered by Europeans. We have a world of disabled people where there's nobody that loves black people enough with the true love of God, with the wisdom of God that will energize us and make us competent, adequate, and equal to the task of liberation. If any people on earth need the Jesus, the one that opens the eyes, the ones that make the deaf hear, the dumb speak, the lame walk, and cure those who have palsy and paralysis and leprosy and insanity and filled with devils. Walk down 43rd Street, walk down 47th Street, walk down Indiana Avenue. Everywhere you look, when you look at us, you're looking at a disabled person. Yes, brother and sister, disabled. All right. I got a couple more minutes.
Take your time.
I'm not going to take too much time, but now, if you realize, my dear brothers and sisters, where the word disabled comes from. Able means capable, competent, adequate, effective, productive. It has a sense of power, might, influence. And that leads, when you talk about power and force and might, that's another way of saying God. God means force and power. So when a person is able, productive, efficient, influential, mighty, and powerful, they are exercising the power of God. All right. If you look in the Bible, everybody all right? You find that Adam, look at that word, Adam. Adam was the first man, they say. Adam and atom, same word. Adam was the progenitor of this world. Is that right? The atom is the foundation of matter. Is that right? Now look, as there is power in the atom, but in the atom there is a positive force and a what? Negative force. Right in the atom, is that right? Well, if there's a positive and a negative force right in the atom, there's an electron and a neutron and a proton, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's also what in you, since you are matter. There's positive in you and me, and there's what? Negative in you and me. All right. Adam produces two children, one called Abel, ain't that something? And the other called what? Cain. Ain't that something?
Yes, sir.
This religion is something, brother and sister. You know, brothers and sisters, if religion were ever taught to you rightly, you would never disrespect it. You would love it and admire it because it is the root of all discipline. You find it in religion, and religion is rooted in mathematics, and mathematics is the base of everything. Now look, Cain and Abel, look at this now. These are the two sons of Adam. One of them seemed to be righteous, and the other wicked. One of them is appealing to God. The other one doesn't appeal to God. One of them makes an offering that God accepts, and the other one makes an offering, but God doesn't want it. What did he offer? He offered corn. That's interesting. And what did Abel offer? He offered life. A lamb or sheep. Now there's some of us who, when we talk about disabled persons, we want to give money. Yeah, come on, brother, here's a dollar. And we feel we've done our duty. See? Put a little something in I did my duty to disabled persons. I give them $1. But then there are others of us who want to commit our life to something. Now, which is more acceptable? Something that will make you pacify yourself, or I gave $1, or if you say, I commit my life to making sure that we rid the earth of disability and make everyone able. That's much more acceptable. The book says Cain rose up against Abel. That's very powerful language. Abel had to have been above Cain in order for Cain to rise up against Abel. He didn't go down and get him. He had to go up and get him. Cain rose up against Abel. All of this has deep significance. Now, I'm going to take it outside of you and then close by putting it inside of you and show you and me the forces within us that destroy our competence and our ability. Just give me 5 more minutes. Look, my brothers and sisters, Cain slew Abel. And the force that caused them to rise up was envy. Envy and jealousy moved him to hatred. Hatred moved him to murder. Then after envy, jealousy, hatred, and murder, then he tried to cover up his crime. Now, see, nature put it in you that when you're a wrongdoer, you always try to cover your tracks, because nobody that's wrong wants to get caught. When you're right, you don't mind people catching you. It's when you're wrong, you don't want nobody catching up to you. So every wrongdoer covers his tracks. Is that right? All right, I don't want to go into all of the science, but we could deal for hours on that. But the thing that we want to get over tonight is that from the killing of Abel, who was righteous, that whole scene with different actors keeps playing itself out from Genesis all the way to Revelations. You get people of righteousness being snuffed out by envious, jealous, hateful people who rise up against somebody because they show competence, ability, efficiency, productivity. And whenever there's somebody among us that has that kind of ability, there's always someone else among us who feel, I can do it better than that nigger, therefore I will snuff that nigger out. Did you hear what I'm saying, brother? That kind of spirit, that negative spirit, moves right with the positive. And whenever you find somebody that is able, if you just look around, Cain is right there. Remember how I started? Death walks right with life. So does Cain always walk with Abel. Cain is a symbol for forces of negativity within the human being. And if those forces are not kept in check, they will rise up and snuff out our ability to be productive, effective, and influential. Now, we can close up. Look, my brothers and sisters, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a man that God put among us to resurrect our abilities, to make us competent, adequate, influential, powerful, commanding men and women. And if you notice, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not fail. He made men and women influential, powerful, commanding, adequate, equal to the task, proficient, efficient with the word that he taught. But the moment he started producing this kind of brother and sister in our community, there was also those who were envious and jealous of the work that Mr. Muhammad was doing.
That's right.
And instead of recognizing, hey, the man got the best program, let's unite with him on this program for the good of all of us, because I don't know another black leader who is able to open the eyes of the blind like Muhammad is doing, to make the deaf hear, the dumb speak, the lame walk, and make black men and women productive like Muhammad is doing. But instead of aiding Muhammad, they said, oh, that nigga, he ain't nothing. They begin to run him down, but run him down out of what spirit? Because he needed or deserved to be run down? No. Run him down because the man was doing what we wanted to do but weren't able to do it, and wouldn't submit to him that he would teach us how we could be able to do what he was doing. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is absent from us. And in his absence, it looked as though Cain rose up and slew Abel.
Yes, sir.
We were so able while Muhammad was with us, but after Muhammad was gone, it looked like we didn't have any more ability to do what we once did. Cain rose up and destroyed our ability, and the Muslims were a disabled group of people. As you quoted in your speech, my brother, let us see, will Elijah take him down? Why? Elijah was able. He was able to do it.
Yes, sir.
And I'm saying to you, my brothers and sisters, by Allah's help, I stood up on the word, teaching, and program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It wasn't just enough to stand up on the man's word, because a lot of people can say his word, but to be in tune with the will and spirit of that man, that's where the power comes that gives you the ability to do what Muhammad did. And now the work is going on in America, and black people are getting up all over the country because Abel is back. And he is taking disabled persons and making them able again with the love and the spirit of God through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So you don't have to look far. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad makes us able to cut out all disabilities.
Right.
But what is on the horizon? Now that Allah is making us successful in our little meager efforts, I see Cain. I see Cain coming up now.
Yes.
Cain is saying, shoot. I don't know why, God, except what they doing. I got something to offer too. Yes, sir, you certainly do. But when you offer it out of a negative spirit, because of envy and jealousy and hatred for what your brother is doing, then God rejects your offer, and you fail in your effort because your motivation is not right. You're not doing what you're doing out of love. You're doing what you're doing out of envy, and that will never work. if you don't love the God, if you don't love the messenger, if you don't love the truth, if you don't love the people, you are unable to affect their disability. So, my brothers and sisters, you also, every one of you, are able. You're tremendous people. Yes, brothers and sisters, the power that you have within yourself is staggering. It is staggering. But you will never release it with the negative force of a Cain mentality. How many Muslims are in the audience? Orthodox or Sunni Muslims or followers of Elijah Muhammad? Would you raise your hands, please? Okay. Now, all Muslims that read the Quran, did you know that in this book, when you steal, what does the law say? What does the law say? Come on. See, that didn't come out too clear. But when you steal in the Islamic world, you know what they do? They cut off your hand. They make you disabled. They amputate your hand immediately and you become a disabled person. Not able to steal anymore, at least with that hand. And if they catch you stealing with the other hand, they chop that off too. So then you're totally disabled from the hands. And if you steal again, they chop your foot off. And if you steal one more time, they chop your other foot off. The fifth time they catch you, it's over. They take the head off, totally disabled. Totally disabled. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you, though, over there, don't nobody steal too much. I was in Mecca, this is the truth, and I saw money changers in the holy city of Mecca, safe wide open. Money from France, money from America, money from all over the world in this safe. I mean, the safe was loaded. And God is the truth. I'm walking the street. The man got his safe in a little shop. You can look right in, safe open. He's changing up money for the pilgrims who have come to Mecca. Don't nobody think in terms of robbing nothing. Because they don't have long trials where you wait a long time. You know what I mean? Is Hassan Abdullah the one that took it? Yes, we saw him take it. Very good. A few days later, his hand is gone. Brother, don't nobody give him no anesthetic. They just chop that off totally. And the poor dude is walking around with a nub, and every time you see him with the nub, everybody say, here he come. That's the used to be light-fingered fella, but he ain't got fingers anymore. Yes, sir. But now, when you deal with people who live totally on a physical level, cutting off their hands means something. But the higher lesson that the Quran is teaching, sin is a crippling thing that renders you disabled. Now, many of you may not want to hear this, but I'm going to tell it to you, and you can go and think about it. The more you steal, now listen, every time you steal, you may think you got away with it. But you have cut off your competence to think in the positive. And every time you commit adultery, break the divine law, you are clouding your own ability to perceive. So the more wrong you do, you become blind spiritually. And you are wandering around and don't even realize that you are exposed, but you are totally exposed. But you can't see yourself, but others see you because you have made yourself blind by the foolish acts that you persist in doing, that you think you got away with. This Quran says to us that every deed has its consequence. You don't get away with nothing. So cutting off of hands is a physical expression to physical-minded people who don't know anything but that. But when you deal on a higher plane, brother and sister, it is breaking the law that makes you incompetent. It is going against the divine law that makes you unproductive. It is constantly rebelling against the will of God that makes you ineffective and losing your influence. And if you doubt it, look at America. America is so wicked that she's blind now. And like a giant cyclops, she's so blind, she stumbles into problems all over the world. Her hands are being cut off. Her ability to solve her own problems is now being curtailed. Look at it. She doesn't seem to be able to solve her own economic, political problems, social problems, health problems, societal problems. She is a bumbling idiot now. And she's becoming more incapacitated because her own wickedness has blinded her and is now making her a totally disabled country. You understand? Now, the lesson that Jesus taught was sin starts with wrong thinking. That's the thing that leads to incompetence and a disabling, crippling of your powers to do. You are a powerful people, but you're crippled, and we're crippled by sin. We're crippled by the things that we do that we know are not right, but we persist in lying, persist in stealing, persist in poisoning our body, persist in stealing one another's wife and cheating one another. And the more you continue to do these things, the more blind you become, the more incapacitated you become, the more unable you are to even see your way out of small things. And all of a sudden you start falling and stumbling around, wandering blindly because you've made yourself blind by your own unwillingness to reform your lifestyle into a proper way that would give you ability and power to think and do. And I say this to all of you, beloved, nobody gets away. Me up here or you there, nobody gets away. What you do in the dark comes out in the light. You can't fake it. You're cutting off your hands by stealing. It is a fool to steal. Oh man, that nigga, if he turn his back, I got that wallet. That nigga go out the house, I got that TV. And the more you think about taking somebody's wallet, taking somebody's watch, taking somebody's TV, or taking somebody's husband, taking somebody's wife, you keep minimizing your own ability and competence to think on how to bring it out of this material universe for yourself. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad invited us to clean up our lives, he invited us to become able again. He invited us to competence. He invited us to productivity. And if you want to destroy your competence and your ability, just keep living the crazy lifestyle that white folks taught us, and you will not have the ability or the power to do. So brother on the gurney will be much more able than you, because even though he's lost the use of a limb or limbs, he's trying to clean up his life to make him able to think beyond the leg. He don't have to think about stealing. He can think productively and bring it. And that's how this came together tonight, because brother and those with him didn't think that they were so incapacitated. They didn't come to beg. They didn't come to plead. They came to teach us a lesson of how to turn disability into ability. So you that have not lost the use of your limbs but are not using them, come on, black man.
Yes, sir.
Let's put these limbs to use.
Yes, sir.
Come on, sister, brother. Let's put the limbs to use. And if envy rises up in the heart, put it down.
Yes, sir.
Because it's improper for us to envy anybody.
That's right.
It cuts off your own ability.
That's right.
That will kill your own ability if you're an envious, jealous-hearted woman and man. Now, if we take up the banner of the Jesus of the book, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and love one another and demonstrate that love by caring for those among us who are less fortunate than we, in a short time, we'll have a very productive, able, efficient, qualified, effective, influential community where there are no disabled persons. For if they are so well protected by those who are able till you don't even see disability anymore. Believe that you can, and you will. Jesus said, "O ye of little faith." If you just had faith, the grain of a mustard seed, you could say to the sycamore tree, "Be uprooted and planted in the depth of the sea." If you had faith, the grain of a mustard seed, you could say to the mountain, "Be removed." And when the winds were stirring up the waters and the waters were upsetting the boat, Jesus calmed the waters and said to the disciples, if you only had faith, you could say to the waters, "Peace, be still." And I'm saying to you, beloved, that's not some spooky, mysterious, fantastic craziness. There are principles there. You can calm your own emotional storms. You can calm the powers of emotion and turbulence that are in your home environment. You can calm those old negative thoughts that make you think you can't do. Put the word "can't" out of your mind. Grow another limb. And when the winds were stirring up the waters and the waters were upsetting the boat, Jesus calmed the waters and said to the disciples, if you only had faith, you could say to the waters, "Peace, be still." And I'm saying to you, beloved, That's not some spooky, mysterious, fantastic craziness. There are principles there. You can calm your own emotional storms. You can calm the powers of emotion and turbulence that are in your home environment. You can calm those old negative thoughts that make you think you can't do. Put the word can't out of your mind. Grow another limb.
Yes, sir.
Walk, black man. Get up out the wheelchair. Walk, black man. Get up out the condition you're in, black man. Walk. Use your hands. Use your mind. You got the power. Think on it. Will it to be. Then act on it, and it's done. Doubt it, and you don't doubt it, then next year this time, let's see some of these that are disabled in here on the able list. May Allah bless you. Thank you for listening as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. All praise is due to Allah for the honorable Elijah Muhammad. Thank you. So I've learned over the years by people calling me names for so many years. I don't say that I'm so tough that it doesn't faze me. I do get hurt when I hear some of the things that they call me that are terrible. But I have learned by the help of Allah to overlook it and keep on stepping. Now when someone calls me an imposter, you know, a zircon resembles a diamond, but it can't pass the test of the cutting of steel. If I'm an imposter, then will the real one please stand up, because he ain't showed up yet. And I would just say this, beloved, as a tree is known by the fruit it bears, men are known by their works. And so what you do is always forget about the personality of the man. You examine his words and see whether his actions are consistent with what he teaches, and then the person is genuine, is real. I don't make any claim that I'm a prophet. I'm your brother. I'm a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I am carrying out his work, and I must be doing something right because Allah is blessing us with success. And I don't submit to interviews. I don't go on television. I don't bother with the press. But they're talking about, brother, in circles that you wouldn't believe. And they're very nervous. The hypocrites are nervous, and the devils are nervous. And when you can make Whitey nervous, you know damn well that man is doing something right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brother, right next to you. I'll come to you next. Yes, sir.
Secondly, I'd like to know if the brothers have given any thought to what most of our brothers they allow in the
Yes, sir.
Next thing goes, we would like to know what you think, you're thinking that, while people have to return to the
Okay, first question, which is really a beautiful statement. He didn't have a lot of money to give, but he has time. A lot of the brothers, he said, we're not doing too well at keeping money, but we do have energy and time. And believe me, brother, that's the best gift of all. And what I would like to do is give you the telephone number of Brother James Lott. And if you would call him, he would be glad to tell you what you can do with your time to aid the wheelchair-dependent people.
Yes, sir.
And that number is 624-4963. 624-4963. Now, in terms of the robbery that's going on in traffic court, in drug court, and in the non-support court of black people, what can be done? You know, beloved, people take advantage of us because we're disorganized. And as long as we're disorganized and disunited, we won't be able to stop the robbery of us as a people. Insurance is the biggest business just about in America today. And insurance is built on people's lack of community. When I was in Africa, they laughed at insurance because they said nobody has to pay to be buried. That's a community responsibility. And whenever one of us dies over here, we bury our dead, and then we make sure that the children that are left and the families left behind, that they're taken care of. That's a community responsibility. So because everybody is an island, all of us are separate, the big insurance companies come right in and say, look, you need benefits, you know, and if you die, what is your children going to do? So you give me $1 a week, $2 a week. Then I go to you and I get $2 from you, $5 from you, $8 from you, $10 from you, and everybody that's paying insurance, then they've got millions and billions of dollars that they loan to banks, they loan to corporate America, they build high rises, they build office buildings, they build condominiums that you can't even live in, and they're getting fat from our disunity. So I'm saying once we are a stronger, organized, and united people, we don't have to go to the white man's court at all for nothing. You become a law. If you really understand, I don't want to go too far on that line because they'll accuse me of being a radical, which is all right, that's what I am. But everything in time. But if we organize, brother, you won't have to pay all these things. An organized community of black people can stop Con Edison from ripping us off, can stop the gas company from ripping us off, can stop the telephone company from ripping us off. Everybody is ripping us off because we're the most disorganized, disabled community of all. But when we get this thing together, brother, we'll stop that money from flowing out. But it's got to be a certain number of us, well organized, willing to commit ourselves to the whole of our people, and we'll put a stop to that almost overnight. The last part of his question, do you think that Wallace D. Muhammad will come back and bring his followers under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad again? Now, I really, in all honesty, don't know that brother's future. If it is what is written in the book, unless he escapes the prophecy, he won't come back. He's gone so far, you know, and once you get beyond a certain point, you don't come back. And right now, from my understanding, he and one of his brothers are in court charging his father, the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, with embezzlement of nations' funds. I mean, cold wickedness. And when you get that bad and are that hateful against your benefactor, your own father, I mean, God can bring him back. I'm not going to say that everybody can be redeemed, but I'll leave that in the hands where it properly belongs. That's in the hands of Allah. Okay? And if he comes back, Allah is the best knower. And if he doesn't come back, Allah is still the best knower. Let's go on and get our people up from being disabled into ability through the use of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yes, sir, my brother. Yeah, big brother. Excuse me. I'm sure you heard, brother. Yes, sir. Oh, we moved a little closer. We're up to $811, and I thank you so very much. Give yourself a hand, brothers and sisters. Well, now if some of you will buy the tape afterwards, we may make the 1,000. Okay? So I won't pass the bucket again. But I'll tell you what, if, you know, the brothers and sisters, if you will stand at the door when everyone goes out, if you have another $1 or 50 cents or something you'd like to drop, just drop it right in the bucket on your way out. Now, I think we'll make this the last question. Oh, she's had her hand up a long time. Yours will be the last then, okay? Now, yes, let me hear yours. If you don't mind, could you limit yours to one question? And the brother in the red, yes, sir, would you raise your question? And the sister over here, she'll raise her question. Yes, sir. Well, you are thinking, brother. That's number one. Your first question is, you know, people have already done something to us. How come we don't get together to think of doing something to them? That's because, brother, the slave master trained us through his false religious teaching and educational teaching never to think about doing nothing to the master. Don't you ever, don't even get the thought in your little mind that you're supposed to retaliate on white folks. See, so by religious training, we're taught to love our enemies, to pray for them, to turn the other cheek to them, and we've been doing that pretty well. It's us that we give so much hell to. So what we got to do is turn that thing around, give us a little break, and then if the enemy attacks us, you know, then break his neck. But we're growing into that, and I think, brother, before this next 2 years is out, he's going to force us to think exactly like you think right now, because he's going to kick a whole lot of black folks in the rump, and we're finally going to get the message. If we don't fight this man back when he fights with us, we'll have no life at all during this decade. Now, brother in the red shirt, you've been so patient. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. His question, yes, okay, that's it? All right. His question is a very powerful question, and I think I'll hold that one for the last. He asked about Malcolm, and he wants to know, Malcolm inspired his life. He wants to know, did Malcolm truly go against the teachings of the Honorable, or rebel against the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? And I can answer that in one word, my brother, and it needs a lot of time to be dealt with. Yes, Malcolm did rebel against his teacher and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When he left the nation in 1964, he embarked on a course that at first appeared to be parallel, but then he embarked on a course that was against his teacher. And not so much the teaching of the teacher at one point, but he spoke evil of the character of his teacher. And he believed that his teacher was jealous of him and his popularity. And he believed that his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, used the assassination of John Kennedy and his remarks of the chickens coming home to roost as an excuse to get rid of him. He said this in his autobiography in his own words. And when you think that way about your teacher, it is very difficult to continue to follow your teacher or his teachings. And so, to answer your question, I would have to say yes, but there's so much more. You can't deal with Malcolm and what Malcolm means to the nation and the struggle of black people and what his pulling away from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad means. You can't deal with that in one word or in a sentence. There's so much emotion bound up in this question that, brothers and sisters, you have to deal with this, and we're going to have to deal with it. As Muslims and followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if we want to rebuild the nation of Islam, we can't stick our head in the sand as though Malcolm does not exist. Malcolm is very real in the minds of black people all over the country. And just like this brother raised the question, what happened to Malcolm? That's in the hearts of millions of black people. And we have to be prepared to answer the questions of the people and legitimately address the concern of black people for the life of Malcolm. Yes. So, brother, this is not the proper forum for that, but I can promise you, brother, that I will address this question very openly, honestly, and forthrightly, and then have a question and answer period. The only thing that I would request of us is that in dealing with this most crucial question in the nation, the life, times, and death of Malcolm X, it's very difficult to separate emotion. Muslims are very emotional over the messenger and his life. But I think if we can put emotion to the side a moment and look at facts, I think, brothers and sisters, we will go a long way toward healing wounds in the black community by addressing the question that brother asked in a most fitting and proper manner. You raise, brother, the most powerful question of our time. And once that question is answered accurately and adequately, I think we can heal the wound and move on to healing a nation. Because Malcolm is symptomatic of a wound that black people feel over the loss of that man.
Right.
And naturally, the enemy, and I say the enemy, I mean the Caucasian, they didn't love Malcolm at all. And they didn't love his teacher, Elijah Muhammad. And their greatest desire was to put those who loved Malcolm and those who loved the messenger at odds with each other so that we would kill each other and cancel each other out. Then Whitey could get on with business as usual. So today, if you notice, Mike Wallace hated Malcolm, which you probably may not know, but that was the first TV show that Malcolm ever appeared on. It was on Mike Wallace's show that he was doing over 25 years ago for NET, National Educational Television, and he and Louis Lomax were doing a show, and it was called The Hate That Hate Produced. And it was that documentary where Malcolm called Mike Wallace a devil and white folks two-legged snakes. I mean, Mike Wallace was angry with Malcolm from that day. Now here comes Mike with a 20-minute segment on Malcolm just about a month ago, or about a month and a half ago. And Mike Wallace, if you watch how clever the man is, in the beginning he says there's some belief that Malcolm was murdered by the CIA. But if you look real close, it seems to be an inside, I'm not quoting him perfectly, but it was an in-house thing, and all the evidence shows he was killed by black Muslims who were angry at Malcolm for accusing Elijah Muhammad of committing adultery. I mean, he laid it out there in the first minute of his talk. Then he went on and came back and brought it back again. Now look, brother, white folks aren't bringing this up on the most popular TV show on television, 60 Minutes. They're not bringing this up accidentally. Do you know why they're doing it at this time? It's because they thought Elijah Muhammad was effectively dead, written out of the history, nobody talking about him, nobody preaching his teachings. And then by Allah's grace, we stood up and began to teach his teachings. And when they looked around, as God is my witness, we effectively went underground and set up cells in nearly 70 cities in America. And all over this country last year, I was going in and out of cities. We covered 300,000 miles in less than a year. And everywhere Allah blessed me to go, thousands of people came out to hear the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This so upset Whitey. I'm lifting up Muhammad, so they don't want to attack me, because that would make black folk run to me. So attack the man that I'm lifting up, and that would serve the purpose of undercutting me. So how do you attack a popular man? You use another popular man to attack a popular man. So you bring up Malcolm, put him on television condemning Elijah Muhammad, and the love that you have for Malcolm and the condemnation of Malcolm, of his teacher, that goes right into you, and that's effectively, they think, undercutting Farrakhan's effort to reach you with the teaching of Elijah Muhammad. But I say to Mike Wallace and 10,000 more like him, you didn't do enough, baby. You better come back and do it every day. You're not going to stop this message from going over. Not at all, brother. No. We are bound to be the winners.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, yes, brother. We're going to win. And you are going to help us to win. Those of you that love Malcolm and adored Malcolm, when you understand the value of Malcolm's life, but not in a sense where you understand his value and then place no value at all on the man that taught him because you think that man was responsible for Malcolm's death. Elijah Muhammad had nothing whatsoever to do with the death of Malcolm. He had everything to do with life coming to Malcolm. But far be it from Elijah Muhammad to fear his own student that he made from jail and then made a student like Malcolm in me. And he can make another one over and over and over again. Why the hell should he fear one man? No, man. No. And do you know why I know that Elijah Muhammad had nothing to do with Malcolm? Or rather with Malcolm's assassination? Not from words. One day, I was in Phoenix with him, and he said to me, brother, everything that Malcolm ever wanted will come to you. He said to me, I want your mind. I want you to line your mind up with my mind, that it be one mind. And just the other day, I was sitting talking with a brother minister, and I said, you know, I never put a lot of thought on that, but I wonder how a man goes about getting another man's mind. And the brother minister said to me, he said, that's easy, brother. He just puts that man through similar circumstances, and that reshapes his thinking exactly like his teachers if his spirit is the same. Now look, I've got brothers around me, as God is my witness, that have come to me and said, I think Wallace should be offed. I'm telling you the truth. And I tell them, I said, is he saying anything that upsets you, brother? Yeah, nigga, he did this, he did that. I said, that really upsets you, brother? He said, yes. I said, well, the thing to do is to continue the work of his father. Leave that man alone. He have the right to live and say what he pleases. Who do you think you are to take another man's life because he's saying something that you don't like? You mean you can't handle what he's saying? Hell, if I thought I couldn't handle what the man was saying, then I'd be jumping right along with you. But I know I can handle him and 10,000 more like him. So what the hell do I have to fear something like that for? No, man. Elijah Muhammad could handle 10,000 Malcolms. He didn't have to fear his student. He loved him. He loved him like a son. No, I think you really need to know this story, because it's the most tragic yet beautiful. It's tragic and yet beautiful. And I personally am very involved in that story. Very involved in that story. Because I was very close to Malcolm. Very close. I love that man like a father. And his last words to me, he said, Brother Lewis, I wish that it was you being an example for me rather than me being an example for you. He knew before I had knowledge that I would one day take his place in the movement. And he also knew that his life was to be an example for me. And the only reason I'm alive today is because of the example of Malcolm's life and the twists and turns I learned from his experience. So his death has given life to me to walk better. And so those who are thinking about snuffing out my life, think hard.
Talk to him. Talk to him.
Because it's not my life you thinking about. You thinking about your own. You won't get my life, not unless it pleases Allah. But if you ever make that foolish attempt, brother, I will not be able to stop.
That's right. That's right.
The brothers and sisters
Talk to him, brother man. Talk to him.
from finding you wherever you are.
Yes, sir.
See, and that I don't want, because some of these brothers and sisters, they get carried away. They take your whole family out.
That's right. That's right.
Your mother, your father, your auntie, your cockroaches. They don't give a damn. Whatever belonged to you, they'll snuff it out. And that to me is abhorrent. But I won't be able to stop it. So don't you be no fool. If Whitey want me out of the way, you let him make the move. Don't you pick it up for him. And I say that to all those that are working with me. Man, I don't fear nothing that Wallace D. Muhammad is saying. Let him say whatever he pleases. And when Allah desires to quiet him, let Allah do that. But we don't go around taking nobody's life because we disagree with them. We be killing people every day. So you cut that out, brothers and sisters. Don't do that. Stop killing each other. Stop thinking about offing each other. That's the first thought that come in your mind. Don't think like that. The only person that should be dealt with like that among us are traitors.
That's right.
People that sell us out to our enemy. Those kind of people. Well, let's move off of that. Sister, where am I, sister? Thank you, brother, for your question. This is the last question. Yes, sister. Yes, ma'am. Her question, if you believe that Elijah Muhammad is alive, why would you let us believe that he was dead? And if you listen very carefully to my words, I said I too believed that he was dead. But the more I studied and came into the realization of the things that he was saying to us all these years, I knew that he was in fact alive. And once I became knowledgeable that he was alive, or became a strong believer in the fact that he was alive, I would never let anyone around me think that he was dead. I don't represent a dead Muhammad. I represent a very live Muhammad. Right. But I, like you and others, believed in 1975 that he was dead. Yes. Say that again. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, well, you live in a day of confusion, sister. In the time of Moses, after Moses left, there were about, I think, 11 or 12 unauthorized rod throwers that stood up claiming to be the one that Moses left in charge. And so under a time of such confusion, people want to know, who are you with? And you know how you stop that? Say, I'm with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. See, nobody is following me. I'm not looking for followers. I'm trying to follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad myself. But when they ask, who are you with? Say, I'm with, if you're with me to help lift his name up, say, I'm with Brother Farrakhan to lift up the name and work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I only follow one man, and that's the messenger of Allah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If you speak like that, you're not wrong. But if you say, I'm a follower of Louis Farrakhan, you out of the box. Because Louis Farrakhan is not seeking no followers. Louis Farrakhan is not the one that has the salvation of the people in his hand. It's Elijah Muhammad that has that. And I'm not representing myself. I'm representing him and what he teaches. So in reality, you're following that which he teaches. You're not following his flesh. You're following his law, his teachings, his principles, his program, his idea. So you're following him. That's the essence of him. I hope you understand that. Yeah. Anybody that asks me who I'm with, I tell them I'm with Elijah Muhammad. Sister, I did say that she had the last question. All right? And we'd be here all night. Of course, it's Saturday night, it's party night, everybody having but we're partying right here. And we're having such a good time. But I don't want to wear the patience of the people. They've been so kind. If I keep them here any longer, they'll be disabled. And they may disable me. So no, brother and sister, I think we'll cut it off there. I see brother way over here with a question, and sister, you wanted a question. If you be so kind as to meet me tomorrow at 6401 South Sangamon, I'll be most happy to continue to answer your questions as best that I can. May I thank you? Huh? The subject tomorrow. I have not decided it yet, but it'll be right in line with these teachings. She asked about the science of the numbers. Each number conveys meaning, and there is a definite pattern to the workings of this world that's all coming up under the number 6. And so tomorrow I'll mention that in the subject, but I really wanted to teach, but I don't know whether I will teach it. You better just come on out, because it'll be just as much a surprise to me as it is to you. All right? Thank you so much, all of you, for coming out. And sister, aren't you the one that invited me to Roosevelt? And that date is the 17th? Saturday, the 17th of April, I'll be speaking, if it be the will of Allah, at her class at Roosevelt College. And I want to say this, any of you that have groups or churches and whatnot, that you would like Brother Farrakhan to come and visit with you, it doesn't cost you anything. Just invite me. I'll be most happy to come and share the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Oh, thank you, brother. That's very nice. Everywhere I go, I'm not going to tell you that I don't charge. because they pay these speakers $5,000, $10,000, and that's how we got the nation up off the ground, through the honorariums that college students gave to me to speak on their campus. But I'm living in Chicago, and you are here in Chicago, so I don't have to go anywhere but just get on a subway or get in my car and come to you. So it doesn't cost me anything to come and be with you. So whatever you want to give, you can give it to the Nation of Islam. We'll be very happy to receive it. Thank you. Well, yes. Well, thank you. Anything that you want to give, I'm not going to turn it down now. I'm not going to turn it down. That'll make me more able. So thank you for a wonderful evening, brothers and sisters. Treat each other good, and may Allah bless you all as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Yes. Would you please pray with us before we leave? Would you kindly pray with us? If you desire to. If you don't care to pray with us, you may just stand at your seat. It's all right. With your hands in this manner and your head slightly bowed, would you kindly follow us silently in prayer? A part of this prayer, I will pray in our original language, Arabic, and the other part I will pray in English. قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, praise be to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, and to Thee alone do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom Thou hast bestowed favors, not of those upon whom Thine wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they have heard Thy teachings. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And I bear witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Thy true servant and Thy last apostle. Ameen. Brothers and sisters, when you leave, don't do anything to anyone that you would not like to have done unto yourselves. May Allah bless you. Hope to see you tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock, 6401 South Sangamon. All those tapes are duplicated and ready. You can get them right now on your way out. Thank you again for a lovely evening. Assalamu alaikum.